Hello, everybody, and welcome to, well, I say every week, but this time I actually mean it. This is a very special episode of Poddywood, where we have got two guests coming on in just a few minutes. But before we do bring them on, allow me to introduce myself. I am one of your co-hosts, Steve Hester, and joining me, as always, is...
Well, that would be me, Andrew Roger Carson, joining you for, it's kind of a special Poddywood Presents. This is not one of the main shows. We decided to do this kind of short form episode, and we will explain the reasons why. One of our previous guests, who you may know from our audio episodes way back in the day, Cyrus Boris.
Do you remember them?
Yes. All 3 episodes in one evening. But yes, he came to me the other night. He has been executive producing on a very special documentary, and we love our documentaries here. We talk about them all the time. And I was surprised that he sent me a link to something that he has got on Kickstarter at the moment, a documentary on Wings Hauser. It's called Wings Hauser, Working Class Actor. Okay, and it's currently going through Kickstarter at the moment. We have some lovely images of the trailer that we're going to play a bit for you later on. But it is directed by Steve Mitchell, who directed a fantastic documentary on Larry Cohen called King Cohen, which you must track down. Any documentary that opens with J.J. Abrams fanning out over Larry Cohen has got to be seen. It is incredible. But yes,
also, it's not going to get confusing having 2 Steves on at the same show. Not in the slightest.
We'll figure it out one way or the other.
But so without further ado, in the short form episode, here to talk about Wings Hauser, Working Class Actor, we have the director, Steve Mitchell. How are you doing?
Great. Good to be with you.
Thank you for joining us to talk about this really interesting project. Because I saw the trailer today and I'm already hooked. So let's just leap right into this. Where did this all come from?
Well, the origin for this project is due to COVID and my buddy Cy Voris. We have kind of a monthly movie night, my partners and I, where we usually watch stuff that's, we don't watch for quality, we watch for entertainment, and we watch a lot of grindhouse stuff. And Cy had never seen Vice Squad. And so we said, well, we have to remedy that, because Vice Squad is a must-see for 100 different reasons, not the least of which is Wings. So we watch it, and Cy, I guess, had never really paid that much attention to Wings and his movie viewing, and he's quite the connoisseur. And so what happened was we, said, well, we got to watch more movies with Wings. And then COVID hit. And so we were all prisoners in our own homes. And so what we created was kind of a movie night book club thing where we all assigned, we assigned each other one Wings movie, and the following week we would watch it. And we'd talk about it, and alcohol was involved, and we had a good time. And it was actually one of the high points of COVID because we could at least hang out with one another, not in person, but we could at least enjoy each other's company, talk about a movie that, occasionally of variable quality. But, the thing that became very apparent to us very quickly is, A-list, B-list, C-list, grindhouse. Wings was always great and always interesting. And so we just had this, Wings marathon that we were doing every week. And after about a year, Cy's wife, who used to be an agent, a casting agent, I think, said, this is ridiculous. He ought to know about this, meaning Wings. And what happens is Robin reached out and said that, we were doing this. And Wings thought about it and decided to call us. And, technologically speaking, it was kind of backwards because Wings, was not really overly computer savvy. So Cy had gotten the call and was holding up his smartphone to the microphone on his computer. And we wound up talking to Wings for about an hour or so. And he was fun and charming. Like Larry Cohen, he had great recall. And he was a raconteur. And so after this hour-long phone call, Matt Verbois, my producing partner and always the entrepreneur, said, is there a movie with this guy? And I said, it's funny you ask, because I was thinking the same thing. So what happened was we met Wings at the Manhattan Beach studio, which was somewhere kind of mutually inconvenient for everybody. So after this hour and a half kind of get together, it wasn't a meeting, it wasn't an audition, it was just kind of a get together. We kind of decided maybe this was the subject of our next project. I mean, I had a number of other projects that I've been thinking about and we've been talking about developing, but we just figured this might be a good way to go because the genre interest in Wings, we're already finding out, is tremendous.
Obviously, the trailer, which we have just viewed recently this week, it is very intriguing. You've got a lot of really good talking heads on there. So who were you able to interview for this film leading up to it?
I just talked to him for hours and hours, and basically he was enormously candid without getting terribly specific. I mean, there was all of his ups and downs and some real lows. And he, I said, are you cool with this? Is this on the record stuff? And he said, yeah. So once we got Wings in the can, we started reaching out to other people. We talked to Francis Fisher, who'd been in 3 projects with him, a guy named Ed Scott, who gave him his sort of first job in soaps. Wings was in soaps. We got Ernie Hudson, who he co-starred with, Alexandra Paul. On the Kickstarter, you can see some of the people that we've got, and we're working on others. And there are more interviews I would like to do. Like I said, I've got hours and hours and hours to work with already. And I think part of the challenge of doing this, like the challenge with doing the Larry Cohen documentary, is you start with, like, can you see this? Okay. Like a ton of stuff, and then you got to kind of really get it that tight. And so the narrative is created in the editing, and then there's just certain choices you make. And everything sort of feeds off one another. I mean, I wish it was a little bit more like a fiction feature, because at least you start with a script and the editor goes, all right, well, that's our spine, that's our structure. Well, when you're doing a documentary, there is no real spine, there is no real structure. I mean, it's a little bit more, and I don't want to sound pretentious, but it's a little zen. You kind of go with your instincts and your feeling for the story. But Wings' career is the spine. And Wings, in that meeting that we had, he says, I'm a working class actor. And I knew the second I heard him say that had to be the title. And so this is a story about a guy, as he said, showed up with a young baby, $30 and a box of Pampers. But in a sense, he's had a career that many actors could have. Working in A-list projects, B-list projects, video projects. He was a video store star for about 10 to 15 years. I mean, we've talked to some people who said, yeah, there used to be a Wings Hauser section in my video store. So he's also kind of unique in that he was the star of a new way for people to see movies. Now, I co-wrote a movie called Chopping Mall in the 80s with Jim Wynorski. And, it didn't open well. It got lousy reviews. It was a disappointment, I think, sort of in terms of the response. And then many, many years later, the director, Jim Wynorski, said to me, he says, when was the last time you looked at the Chopping Mall page on IMDb? And I said, why? And he said, go look. Pages and pages of reviews. And most everybody who was writing something had seen the movie on cassette. Because we found out later that Vestron shipped about 500,000 cassettes. Well, Wings is part of that world. So, that whole home video world is a real key component to the story. And then into the 90s and into the early 2000s, Wings had to deal with some demons, but he was still working. He was working on television. He fell in love. It's this almost kind of grand novelistic sort of life that he's had. And my hope is I'm going to be able to do some justice to it, or at least in his eyes. Got to make him happy first.
Well, definitely. I mean, you kind of look through his resume, and you can go on IMDb and things like that. And we always have the thing when we have guests on, you can tell how many years they have kind of committed to their career by how extensive they are. And this guy goes from movies like Tough Guys Don't Dance, No Safe Haven, LA Bounty, as we've already mentioned, stuff like Edge of Terror. And then you can go right up to movies with Michael Mann. He was in The Insider as well, in a small role. And the true mark of any working class actor who has been on our show is if they've been in The Mentalist. And he's been in The Mentalist as well.
Everyone's been in The Mentalist.
Every guest we've had.
It's like the US version of Midsummer Murders. Everyone's been on it.
Wow. Wings' TV guest star career is really quite interesting. You know, he did a lot of work for Steve Cannell. My favorite, I think, guest star role he did an episode of Hunter where he played a badass bounty hunter, and that's one of my favorites. But he also worked with Angela Lansbury 4 times on Murder, She Wrote. But I bring all of this up because whatever you watch, he's always good. He's always consistent. He says New York actors are, they're much, quote, deeper, and, it's all about motivation. It's all about this. He goes, I'm a California actor. I'm an entertainer. And so there's always this very entertaining aspect to who the character is. And I think Wings has a lot of humor. He dances around the top, but he doesn't go over the top. There's that saying, well, it's over the top, it's too big. And Wings is a very deft professional. He knows where the top is. He comes close, but he never jumps. And it's that consistency and that sort of dedication of performance that makes him interesting. And that, to me, is really the yardstick for any project like this. How interesting is your story and or your character or characters? And with Wings, I think we tapped into a guy who has a real fascinating tale to tell about what it's like being an actor. He's also he's a very dedicated, crafted actor. He's very thoughtful. But all of this is stuff that, to me, as an audience, makes him interesting. And, if you're going to make a movie about somebody, you're going to spend X amount of time, months, a couple of years doing one of these things. They better be interesting to you. Otherwise, you're in trouble.
Well, definitely. I mean, leading on from a previous documentary, as you've mentioned here, King Cohen, which is an amazing documentary. And if you get a chance to see it, if you can find it on any streaming, or even if you just buy it from Amazon, it is definitely worth tracking down. It is among those elite filmmaker documentaries, along with Milius and other stuff like that. You will love it. And I think this that's a good kind of indication of what you kind of get with a Wings Hauser documentary as well. And realistically, Wings Hauser, I think his first role was in the 60s.
Yeah, he was in a World War II picture called First to Fight, and I was aware of him being in it. Was he gave me a bunch of stills from his collection just to scan, and I saw him in a helmet. I said, "What was that?" He said, "First to Fight," and he plays a scared Marine who's in like the first 10 minutes of the movie, and it was a big deal for him. He started in theater. One of the things that was very very quickly is he really preps like crazy, and then he always says, let it go. He was told by Bing Russell, you did your homework, you're ready, just let it go. And that gave him a lot of freedom as an actor, and that's kind of been his motto. That and the fact that he says hello to the camera every day. The camera is his buddy. Our key art, which you can see on the Kickstarter page, you see the camera, and the camera's there not just because he's a film actor, but the camera is also his buddy. He's always very nice to the camera, and that way the camera takes care of him.
For people who grew up in the 80s, they'll know Wings Hauser if they've not seen the movies. He was in everything from Magnum P.I., The Fall Guy, The A-Team, Airwolf, every one of these shows that was all on the syndications. They used a lot of revolving door actors, and he would always show up, sometimes for more than one episode.
This is a movie about one of those guys. Oh, that guy, because there are people who will know him, obviously, and then there are people who will know of him by sight. But hopefully a lot more people will get to know him and find him as interesting a human being as well as an actor as we have.
Okay, well, we're going to be putting up some details of the trailer on this little special broadcast that we're doing. But tell us a little bit more about the Kickstarter. How can people get involved in supporting this?
Well, for starters, you go to the Kickstarter page, and everything is kind of spelled out. The trailer is there, the key art, which was done by Paul Shipper, a UK illustrator who did our King Cohen poster. And we sort of got him before he became really well known. But he is a friend, and he was very happy to do our Wings poster as well. I'm an old school guy. I like illustrated movie posters, so we're lucky to get Paul. And so you can see all of that. There are all these various levels for donating. We have, I don't know if they're called rewards or gifts or whatever it is. Luckily my producing partners did all that. But it's real simple. Just find the Kickstarter. In fact, you go to the Kickstarter page and you do a search for Wings Hauser. It's the surprise, only Wings Hauser documentary that's being kickstarted. So it's easy to find, and just take a look and see how you feel about the project, and hopefully you want to support us.
Well, the link is here on screen as well. We will also put a direct link in the comments section down there, so you can just click on a button, go straight to the page. Help these guys out. We need more documentaries like this on interesting characters, and Wings Hauser is a truly interesting character.
I just want to end with one other thing. I started out doing DVD special features, and I was working on the old Combat TV series, which I don't know if it was on in the UK or not. But I got to talk to a lot of, sorry to say, old timers. And I realized how important it is to get this stuff on the record. I'm a big fan of getting it on the record. I mean, you can go through life and just sort of assume, people will be around to be interviewed forever. But they're not. And so that's kind of one of my personal mission statements, is I like doing these projects because you're creating some living history. I do this for a lot of reasons, but I like the idea that, Larry's no longer with us. I got to know Larry. I love Larry. He was such a fascinating and sometimes irritating and annoying character as well. We argued a lot, but I'm so happy I got his story down while he was around.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to it. Please keep us in the loop with it. If you've enjoyed our episode today, please share this out. Get support for Wings Hauser, Working Class Actor. It's a fantastic project, fantastic people involved. Steve, I'm hoping that you will return for a more longer form episode.
That's great. I look forward to it. I enjoyed my time.
And who knows, maybe we'll even get Cyrus Voris on at some point. He really should have been here today.
Yes. A few technical issues, yes.
Steve Mitchell, thank you so much for joining us. All the best of luck with the film. We will help promote it through Poddywood. We're looking forward to seeing it get released.
All right. Thanks, Andrew, and UK Steve as well.
Well, thank you very much. And to play us out on this particular episode, here is the trailer for Wings Hauser, Working Class Actor.
Somebody come in, please. This is Mary. Come in. Somebody come in, please.
Do I look fucking dead to you?
What do you think they get to clean up their dirty work, huh? When they're not allowed to? We have rights here.
Oh, you got rights.
What I'm asking is speed up the action. Boom, boom.
Can you stand a little more excitement?
For the audience is everything. All you have to do is reach in, grab hold of that soul, and squeeze. Just that.
Oh, hey, man. You want to join us?
He's an imposing, strong figure. There's nobody like Wings.
You know who I am, right?
Yeah.
And you know what I do, right?
He's not like anybody else and really wants somebody to jump off the screen and be distinctive.
You let me down, dog.
Wings seemed at home on the set. You don't always find that with actors.
He had an eye and would set up the cameras, how the actor moved around.
Consider yourself lucky to be working with a pro like me.
Wings ignited Luke Perry. You know, that was so. It was like nourishment to him.
You want me to lighten up? Let me tell you, it's not my nature.
He's just a really good actor.
What the hell are we doing wasting time on this, huh?
Captain, let me handle this.
A guy like Wings is all energy. He's all focus. He's all active.
Are you accusing me of murder? With my reputation, murder?
Some of the fun of working with Wings Hauser is you just don't know what's coming next.
Why did your wife kill herself? Did she hate you?
Yeah. He made friends with the camera the same way he made friends with everybody else.
You ought to be on TV. I could reach a good many people.
And he has such tenderness in his eyes. It's because, as a person, he has a huge heart.
I arrived in this town with $30, a box of Pampers, a suitcase, and a 13-month-old daughter, homeless. I was never driven to be a star, and you're doing a documentary on my life. This is a good thing. I'm a very fortunate man, and I know it. I'm an actor. I'm a working class actor. I've worked all my life. I got some class, and I'm an actor.
It's Fred fucking Astaire time. That's entertainment.